It's October. Let's get spooky. You clicked on the thumbnail. It's not a surprise that this is what we're making today, but just in case you're undecided, this came together in less than an hour, is absolutely adorable, and even a beginner could do it. So let's go back in time an hour and see how I made this little guy. I'm using leftover fleece from an old project, and I have this much, which you think would make me cautious in how I'm about to design this, but I'm about to go feral and just draw straight onto it, because life is short, and like, we all know what a ghost looks like. I think we could all draw one freehand. I'm about to prove myself wrong, I can feel it, but I've got a good feeling about this. I did pin my fabric together though, just to keep it in place as I was drawing and cutting, and just went around and freestyled a ghost with the board marker. It was at this point I decided, ooh, what if I gave it arms? And so I gave it arms. And yeah, this is how it turned out. One thing I do need to add though is that you got to keep in mind that you will have a seam allowance. Now I was going to have a 1cm seam allowance for this, so I made sure when I was drawing it out to make it at least 1cm bigger all the way around than I wanted it to end up. And yeah, just then got to cutting, and I'll leave this with you because the sounds were so satisfying. So this is your little Halloween treat. Now ghosts don't have to be symmetrical, but I noticed mine kind of wasn't and it was bugging me, so I just folded it in half and used one as a guide to make the other line up properly. Okay, so for this next part, I'm going to do the face, and your face design can be whatever you want it to be. It can be smiley, it can be screamy, it can be surprised, but you got to do this way that I'm about to show you. I promise you it is going to make the cushion. Now, it may seem a little weird at first, and that's okay. I probably did too. But I promise you, if you stick with it, this is just going to be the top ghost face sewing tip you will see this video. That's a guarantee. The technique I'm using is called reverse applique, which, as you can imagine, is like applique, but the other way around, where the coloured fabric goes on top of the background. So in my case, the black that's going to be the face is going to be pinned behind the white of the ghost. At the moment, you can see me drawing on the face. And remember earlier when I said, hey, everyone knows what a ghost looks like and would be able to draw it? Well, here's me proving myself wrong. So once I was finally happy with the design, I pinned it to the ghost face, and I was going to stitch it in place then with a satin stitch on my sewing machine, or a very narrow zigzag stitch if you don't know what a satin stitch is. Now the good thing about this is, even if you're doing things like curves, because the stitch is so narrow, you do have a lot of manoeuvrability because it is going very, very slowly. And I really thought at this part that I'd like set the camera up really well and this would be a really cool shot, but at least now you get to appreciate the bat I drew on my face, I guess. So the sewing has been done, and from the back we can see I've sewn around it, but from the front this is all we're seeing at the moment, because what I need to do is kind of separate it and cut out this top layer, and that's kind of the beauty of reverse applique, as it kind of gives that sunken in effect, and this is what's going to make the cushion. This is what makes it kind of give it those spooky eyes. This, I think, takes it a level above just something that you could just stick on. So you kind of have to like separate the pieces, kind of like you're opening a bag of crisps, just so they're separate. And with your scissors, don't drop them on the floor. I'm just going to make a little snip because we don't want to cut through to the layer underneath. So you can see it's just starting to peep through. And now what you want to do, as close to your stitches as possible, we're going to cut around to expose the face. We're going to free the face. Be free. This is so cute. Oh, I'm so excited to get this finished. Luckily, we're like 60% of the way there. So now I've got my front sorted. I'm going to grab my second piece. Make sure the right side is facing in, so the fluffy side we want facing inwards. Okay, so we've got this on the outside because we sew things together. I got distracted by the wonky arms at this point, but the end of that sentence was inside out. But we know that, right? We're smart. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Okay, one of the arms wasn't quite as symmetrical as I thought, but it's fine. You can pin it around the outside if you want. Fleece is kind of frictiony because of the fluff. I could wing it. I just put some little pins where the arms are. So what I'm essentially going to do now is sew around the whole thing. I'm going to leave a little gap here, and I'm going to leave it here, one, because it's near the bottom, but two, the bottom's going to be wavy, so I don't want to leave a gap there where there's a curve, so I'll do it here where there's a straight edge. I'm going to sew with a 1 centimetre seam allowance, and yeah, that's it. Going to get it done. Okay, this next part is important, so watch closely. If I actually tried to turn it the right way around at the moment, it wouldn't look right because we've got all these corners. So like where the arms are, we've got corners there, and then all the curves. If I tried to turn it the right way around, it would just kind of turn into like a hexagon and it wouldn't lay flat. So I've got to make a few strategic little snips, which is what you see me doing here. And I had to move on to the floor for this because apparently that's the only place with decent lighting for this next part. But you can see me almost cutting all the way to that corner. And when this gets flipped around, that should help it lay nice and flat and have a nice crisp edge. And then whenever you have a curved bit, again, you just want to make little cuts almost up to the seam so that when you flip it around, that's going to help it follow the line of that curve as well. Moment of truth. There's always something very inelegant about doing this part, but needs must. You got to start turning your piece the right way around now, which is what you can see me doing here. And anytime you get a little arm or a little curvy bit, you just got to make sure that's fully out. And what you see me doing here is just kind of rubbing the seams to make sure they're all like fully out and lying as neatly as possible. Here's a cloud I killed earlier. And if cloud crimes aren't your thing for some reason, you can just use like actual like toy or pillow filling. I think it's called. I'll be honest, I was even considering using like a bunch of old socks that I was going to throw away, but I feel that may be a level of unhinged that I'm not quite ready to show you guys yet. Once your body is well and truly stuffed, all you've got to do now is stitch up that hole. I'm going to get some white thread and a sewing needle and just do a simple ladder stitch. If you don't know how to do that though, you can just do a basic running stitch in a matching colour as small as you possibly can. Not bad for half hour's work. Let's go show it off. Made a ghost.
Don't spook me like that.
No, it's scared of you. Pink puppy. Kaka, got you a friend? Well, the cats might not care, but I love it. So, I'll see you next time. Stay spooky.